Jonathan Kaminga and Buddy Hield were sent to Atlanta for Kristaps Porzingis. What is our thoughts on this one?
About time. We can start there. About time. I mean, Jonathan Kaminga clearly wasn't part of the Warriors' future. I mean, on the one hand, he would play and then he wouldn't play, and then they signed him to a contract extension with a team option because they didn't want to just let him walk out the front door. So now they actually move off of him with Buddy Hield and get Kristaps Porzingis, where some people think that the Golden State Warriors have failed Steph Curry, when in reality, over the last 16 years, I mean, they've done everything that they could to put, competent pieces around Steph Curry for him to win a championship. I think that they dropped the ball in 22 after they won a championship, but other than that, I think that they've done a good job in putting pieces around Steph Curry to help him win.
What seed were they in 22, 23? Because they were
the third seed, and they were the third seed in 22 when they won the championship. I want to say they were the sixth seed.
They played in the play-in that year, right? Did they play in the play-in that year, Mars?
No,
because they played in the first round versus Kings, right? So they were six. They were six seed.
They were. I want to say
the Kings were the 3 seed or 2 seed that year. Ox.
They weren't in the play-in.
The Kings were 3. It was 3 versus 6. It was 3 versus 6.
The next year that was the play-in.
Cannot ignore how poorly they have managed the draft over the last 4 years. Not drafting LaMelo Ball. Okay, I know hindsight's 2020, but not drafting LaMelo Ball over James Wiseman, not drafting Franz Wagner over Jonathan Kaminga. These are the types of moves that could have extended Steph into 6-7 championship territory. So look, man, with any great player, you're going to win multiple championships. I don't want to give the organization always the credit. Kevin Durant coming, that's not Golden State didn't do that. He did that. That's his choice. Draymond, him, that's his choice. So sometimes I think we give people credit for shit that is not really, it's just random. You know what I mean? If I walk out my door and I find $100 on the street, I didn't do that. Someone else made a mistake,
They had to do something to get KD there, though. They could have easily let him go.
They created a good environment. They created a good system. They have a generational point guard.
They got lucky. Their best player had.
He
was
heavily
recruited by 4 years.
By Dre and Curry.
Somewhat credit for that, though. I ain't saying they're the credit. They're the exact reason.
I mean, but they had Jordan Poole in them. That what sunk that year was the Draymond stuff, and I'm never letting go of that. He sunk.
That's a fact. He threw a monkey wrench in everything.
And in the playoffs that year, Poole was trash in the second round. Clay was trash. Dre was trash, and Steph Curry basically playing by himself, and they lost 4-2. And then, so I don't know how that's pretty common for you to win a championship, and next year you flame out for several different reasons. 23-24. I can't remember exactly how that year went for them.
They lost in the play, and it was Clay's last ever game in Golden State. He was 0 for 10.
Yeah, over 10. That was that game.
Remember?
Then they went and got Jimmy Butler, and to be fair, they feel like they could have won the Wolves series if Steph and Jimmy were healthy. So they could have been in the Western Conference Finals last year. They just had injuries to.
Who did they hold? I think they held Jonathan Kaminga out of Lauri Markkanen talks a couple years ago.
Pods was Pods.
Yeah, it was Pods.
Was it Pods? Pods and Kaminga?
Which I don't believe.
It was for sure Pods. I know that. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't. They might have been willing to let Kaminga go for Markkanen. I don't know, but Podziemski was definitely the one I remember that they weren't including.
They've definitely held Kaminga out of certain talks over the last couple of years where his value has been higher, right? So again, when you have a coach that doesn't want to play players who can't play 0.5 basketball, why force it? You know what I mean? Either fire the coach and prioritize the player, or trade the player and prioritize the coach. They've done this a few times where I feel like they have mismanaged assets here. And if this Kristaps Porzingis thing doesn't work out, well, Steph Curry going to be going out really bad.
It won't. I just want to say that the Hawks for sure won the trade. I think them getting Kaminga is about to be a huge help for them because we've seen Kaminga go crazy at times where guys were down on the Warriors and he had no choice but to get minutes. At times we've seen him ball out and show that he clearly is a good basketball player. So I think now that he's traded to a team that's up and coming and got a lot of solid pieces over there in the Hawks, they definitely going to be all right. And we're going to see we're gonna see why the Warriors didn't want to trade him and tried to hold on to him for so long and try and do all these weird games with his contract and trade assets and things like that. We're gonna see why that stuff happened because I'm sure they know he's a tremendous basketball player, as he's about to show us in Atlanta.
Yo, Damian, I would like to hear your thoughts on this trade. Not necessarily who won the trade, but who do you think it's better for?
I think I've said this before. I think Kaminga, I mean, you can say what you want about the IQ and things of that nature. I think that it's still a good get for Atlanta just because the situation they're in. I think they can test out the waters on what this guy can become. I think it complicates it a little bit though with Jalen Johnson. I think they putting the ball in his hands. Kaminga needs the ball as well, so I think it's a little bit tricky. I just can't wait for the situation now to actually be like. I can't wait for both parties to tell the truth. Like, I can't wait for Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kaminga to actually tell their truth because they're not under the same franchise anymore. But the Porzingis stuff as well, I'm not as high on as sort of other people I've seen sort of around the grounds. I think he's got this weird disease that keeps popping its head up. I think he's only played like 17 games this year. He is reunited with Al Horford. That seemed to work well in Boston, but they had a different setup than Golden State. They don't necessarily have the perimeter defense that can compensate for some of those deficiencies those guys have at their ages and their health issues. So I don't love it for Golden State, but I don't hate it either in terms of if Kristaps is healthy, he can stretch the floor and he fits their system a little bit. But I thought it was a little bit of a nothing move for Golden State, to be honest with you. But I like it for Atlanta. I'm excited to see what it looks like.
Well, he comes off the books after this year, so we only got about a third of the season left. And with that being said, you get his books off, you get his money off the books, and you get the kid Jackson Davis, you get his money off the books. So I mean, you can definitely go shopping in the offseason to possibly, bag a free agent, and even them not making the playoffs, because I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. And with them not making the playoffs, I mean, they still have their first round pick this year, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. So they'll have some capital there. I think that will work. Jonathan Kaminga, to your point, in Atlanta, with him and Jalen Johnson both on the wing, I think that looks tremendous. I think Jonathan Kaminga is a simple 1-2 dribble to the rim guy, really good finishing around the rim. He can shoot the basketball when necessary, and I don't mean shooting the long ball, but I mean he can shoot the basketball. He can knock down a mid-range jump shot. He can knock down a three when necessary. I think that if you put him in simple situations to start, I think that we're going to see a different Jonathan Kaminga than we saw. I think that Warriors offense, I think that what's going on with the Golden State Warriors is a lot more complex than we know. And I don't just mean the situation between him and Jonathan Kaminga. I'm talking about that offense. It's a lot more complex. And for a guy like Jonathan Kaminga, who had no real experience coming into that, I think that it really hampered him. I think that him getting with the Atlanta Hawks, I think that this is going to really help blossom his game.
Mm-hmm. So basically, he's going to be like a more explosive AJ Griffin.
Well, I think he'll be better than him. I do. I think he's a better athlete.
AJ was hooping for a while.
Yes, he was. I think he's a better athlete. I think he's a better bucket getter. Yeah, I think he's a better athlete.
I don't think they're in a great spot though. I don't think Golden State's in a great spot, to be honest with
Who
you.
you mean, Atlanta, Damian?
Jimmy Butler ACL thing. No, the Golden State, they still got this Jimmy Butler ACL. Draymond Green seems to have regressed a lot. They don't, like, they were in the Giannis sweepstakes, apparently. You don't land him. Like, what? I'm struggling to see a world where there's enough star power that's available in the offseason for them to really build another team around Steph, even if they have shedded some salary, because they don't have a lot of cap space still, and the aprons are right there. So I think they got a complicated future.
It's the panel. Religion get built on cam. Where the check throw smoke and the hoes go ham. You ain't never seen hoops all hit the raw. Every take got weight, every night we drop. This that barbershop. Courtside, worldwide tone. Welcome to the only show that really feel like numbers jumping like the score.